Good morning or good afternoon.
I'm muted. Can you hear me?
Now I can hear you. Wonderful.
Okay, I think I mute myself. Um,
But now you didn't. It's awesome.
okay. Okay. Wow. Am
Right
I the only
now,
one in here?
right now it's just the two of us, and that's okay. Is there something that you would like to ask or talk about?
Um, yes, couple questions.
All right.
Okay. Well, I'm a substitute teacher,
Oh, okay.
and then I have my own students, private. I'm doing private tutoring as well.
Yes.
Um, So when I sub in, in this school district we have high school, elementary school, and international school.
Yes.
Um, so in high school they are using the traditional way to teach,
Mm-hmm.
and that's really hard for the kids.
It is.
And well, I also thinking maybe someday I'm going to apply real class teacher like normal. So I'm trying to train myself to be ready.
Oh, good for you.
That's the reason I'm here studying.
And
Um,
where are you?
Idaho.
Oh, welcome. Welcome. Yeah, I hope you are warm.
Yeah, it's pretty cold here outside.
Very cold. Yeah.
um, so I actually have some trouble with the elementary lower grade kids.
Yes.
They are They are pretty good in general, but couple kids behave very weird. Well, it's not, I cannot say weird. They just very active.
Yes, they are.
Or that's my problem that I cannot control these couple kids.
Yes. All right.
They, I know I watched the movie, the presentation of
Oh, good.
Amy. I watch all like
Oh,
Amy Rowe and Amy Marshall. Amy Marshall talk about teach them how to respect their teacher, how to
yes.
treat. Um, so if they are not cooperate, they're going to make the teacher stress out or
Right.
a lot of energy spending. So I did not set up rule for the kids. That's why some kids they acting out.
Right.
But
That's exactly
for
it.
if the school already started, they are very bad behaved.
Mm.
How can I turn them back? I know I supposed to tell them at the beginning of the school, right?
You can start over anytime. You can restart anytime. If they are already in school, they already know rules of school. And sometimes that's the best place to start. To just say to them, what is the rule in your class with your teacher?
um,
What are the rules?
well,
And,
okay.
and
Well, the teacher have the rule, but okay, that's two things. One is the public school with the elementary, like immersion school.
yes,
That's one. Another one is myself. I have my students, my
girl
own
private
students.
students, yes.
So for my own student, it's elementary kids, like 6 years old and not 8 or like third grader.
Mm-hmm.
They both, well, at the beginning, the older kids is better, but the younger kids like acting out, and then the older kids follow the young kids. They're doing the same thing.
Right.
Um, that's the thing.
Okay, well, here is the situation. All of these students have been in school before,
Mm-hmm.
and it's perfectly legitimate for you to say, Today, we're going to start over. Today, we're going to start a whole new class, and we're going to start with the rules because every school and every class has rules. Who can tell me rules that you have in a class? And let them give you one rule. Have them raise their hand. Say, I will take your rule if you raise your hand. So wait for somebody to raise their hand and don't answer them if they don't raise their hand. Stare at them. Just stare at them. You can smile, but just stare at them and raise your own hand and show them that's what you want. It might take a minute, but one of them will raise their hand. And then you thank them. Thank you so much for raising your hand. That's exactly what I was waiting for. Now, can you tell me what was the rule you wanted to share? And just listen to that rule. And then it doesn't really matter what rule they give you as long as it's a real rule. So as long as it's we're quiet or we sit still or we raise our hands, then now you have it all set up and you can say, yes, and that's a rule we need here too. And
So
now write it down. Rule number 1. Now the nice thing is you didn't come up with the rule. They came up with the rule. So from that time forward, you can always say, remember the rule you gave me? You said we raise our hands. I'm waiting for you to follow that rule. So you can take a whole class just to establish rules if you think you need to, because what they're waiting for is for you to be the boss. All children need a boss when they're young. They need someone to be in charge. And if no one is in charge, they'll step up and take charge. So that's what you saw your third graders do. They were trying to follow the right thing and do the right thing. But when you didn't support that, it wasn't an intentional thing on your part, but they said, okay, then I'll follow the rules the little ones made. Everybody wants a rule. And truthfully, in their hearts, they want the rule person to be you. So never be afraid to make the rules. Never be afraid to hold to the rules. Because
yeah, I was
that's what
trying to be nice to them because I know they cannot stay still. So
Right.
I sometimes just say smiling, like making fun. If you ask for permission in Chinese, I let you do it and say that. So they like always raise their hand. They always raise their hand. Can I do this? Can I do that?
Yes. All right. So the good news is they do need to be active. So that's the second part for you as the teacher. You want to make sure that your lessons, because they're telling you with their behavior, that's how they communicate, is with their behavior, because they don't always know up here what they need and they don't always have the language for it. So they communicate to us with their behavior, and their behavior says, I need to move. So you want to make sure that in all of the little lessons that you do, that they get to move. So are you familiar with TPR?
I just started.
Good. Good.
That's one of the reasons that I taught before for the traditional way.
Yes.
And my lessons always boring because always like listen to me and teach them one by one.
Right.
And then they feel very bored. My class is really boring. I can feel myself because the kids either not smiling or just like,
That means you have good senses and you know. So try thinking about it this way with the little ones. We aren't going to teach the little ones. We're going to play with the little ones in the language.
Yeah, that's another thing. If I play with them, they treat me as their friend. They not even listen to me.
Okay, so you keep reminding them, what we are doing is playing to learn, and I am still the boss. And you can say, one of the things that we often do in the lower schools is to have a call and a response. Mm-hmm. So the teacher says one thing, and then the students say or do something back. And you can teach them that. So class, when I say, who's the boss? Yeah. You say,
Um,
you're the boss. So, and then you practice that. I'm the boss. And then they're going to go back, you're the boss. And then they need to be quiet.
um, I actually I practice that also. Like
Good.
if well, the thing is, most of the students doing that only 2 or 3, only the couple. That's the problem.
Then you stop right there and you don't go any farther. And you get serious in your face and you say, we are, and you wait for them to be quiet. And if that means you stand right in front of them and do this until everybody's quiet and it takes 5 minutes, it's worth the time. When everybody's quiet, you say very quietly and very deliberately, we're going to do this again. And I need every single person to do it. I'm the boss. And let them do it. And if they don't, just take a step and take a breath and say, better, let's do it again. And if you have to do it 5 times until everyone does it, you are calm and you're quiet and you can even smile, but you are deliberate. Your tone says, we're going to do this. And you look them right in the eyes and you say, I need you to do this, John. It's important to me that you do this. The kids that are fooling around and messing around, all they want is your attention.
Yeah, so only 2 kids,
Yeah.
they mixed up everything.
Yeah.
And I sometimes pull them in the corner, let them sit still by themselves.
Yes.
They still doing that.
Yes.
They make fun of they 2 kids, they talking to each other, so the whole class just.
Right. So you want to, if it's in your own private class and there's no other teacher, then you really need to address that with them and with their parents. And the best thing you can do is give them attention and say, listen, I want you to do something special for me today. You're in charge of this response. So you're in charge. So when I do, I'm the boss. I really need you to lead everybody. And do that. Okay. Make them important and make them special. And tell the parents it that way too. I want your child to feel special and important. So I'm giving him or her a job today and maybe for the next few days because I really want her or him to know how glad I am they're in class. And I'm not sure they're getting that message. So I'm going to give them a special job. Just so you know, because I really want them involved in class. And just try to keep it very positive. But if you need to, you can say, listen, that is not the kind of behavior that makes me pay attention to you. If you want my attention, then please do this because I need that and the whole class needs that. And we really need it from you more than anybody else because you're important to us and we need you. And you may have to say that 4 or 5 days in a row, but eventually that's hard to resist. I mean, for a kid that's 7 years old or 8 years old or 6 years old, it's very hard to resist an adult that keeps saying, we need you because you're important. And they generally, come over to your side. If they really don't, then there may be a bigger issue that doesn't have anything to do with you or the class. It may be that they were in a bad mood all day long, or it may be they got in a fight with someone, or, it may be something bigger and you can talk to the parents or the classroom teacher about that. But if you're talking about in a classroom, in a school, right, in a public school, there is no adult in a public school who will be upset for setting the ground rules. So your first job is to set the rules and remind them kindly what the rules are. And then if you don't get support from the student, go to their teacher and say, Mary is not following our rules. Do you have a suggestion on how I can help Mary follow the rules? Because that teacher's been dealing with Mary all year long. So they have an idea maybe of how they can help and support you. So use them as your team.
Thank you.
Thank you. And also remember, with the playing, you can always say, listen, we're playing a game, but because I'm the adult, I'm in charge. And say that as many times as you need to, because it's true and they know it.
Okay. Okay.
Welcome, everybody. How are you?
Good. How are you, Lori?
I am good. Let's see. Oh my gosh, we've got
Hi, Lori.
here. Hello,
I'm good.
hello. All right, maybe
Hi.
we can open up my little, there. Now we can see each other. Or I can see you. You could probably see me before. Oh, it's wonderful
Yeah.
to see everybody. So let me explain what I have available. But first I want to deal with any questions or concerns. And now who was I just speaking with?
This is Tycho.
Oh, hi, Tycho. This is Tycho.
Oh, I'm glad you can say my name correctly because a lot of people they cannot say it.
Oh,
So
I will
I
try.
have
You have
my.
to help me if I mess it up because
Oh,
I
no,
make
you
a lot
are.
of mistakes too.
You are.
I'm not
Good.
wearing my glasses. I don't know where I put them. So if I'm trying to read your name and I go like this, that's because I can't find my glasses. So what I have available for you today is, one is it's just a short little video. It's just to be an encouraging video. And then, but there are ideas in the video and you can ask me questions about the ideas after we watch it.
Okay.
Then I have an idea for you for the end of the year and beginning of the year. But those are the things I always put to the end because I think if you have an important question, that should be first. So that's why Tycho and I were having this conversation about her little ones. Tycho's in Idaho, of all places, being cold.
Yeah.
So
So
how
Ty-
can we introduce ourselves? Because not everybody knows everybody.
How? Yeah. Okay. Let me first start because I've been hear you talking to the Tycho. Tycho has the same ages of student. I teach from first grade to sixth grader. Like first grader, second grader, they are just like 6 year, 7th year, and 8th year. Because our school and the elementary the program is Montessori. So they just all in the same class, first, second, and third grade. They are in the same class, and of course, if they go to the middle school and the high school, they just become the IB program. So, but I'm teaching in the elementary school. So I usually have the same problem with the Tycho, like. And kids always have a couple of them because I have a first and second and third grader in the same classroom. They always have some kids like messed up the class, and they came to me only once a week, and usually is 1 hour. But right now in the pandemic, during the pandemic, is only half hour. But the group divided to the small right now. Although the time is cut, but the group become small, like less than 10. But usually I have one class have 18 and to 20, something like that.
Oh, that's big.
Yeah, that's big. So sometimes a couple of kids messed up, then you don't have class. Like I just say, just wait and until the class is over. But the next week, I think it should be the better, but it's not. They still sometimes it happen again in class. So I'm very worried about this one, because if I don't teach each class, then I don't teach them at all, right? So sometimes I just go ahead, ignore them, and teaching the kids who want to learn, they just listen. They don't want to listen, still just make it. So my class sometimes is very lousy.
Yeah.
So, but right now it's
kids who can't pay attention in every class. There will always be, and especially at the lower school, there will always be one or two kids who are not focused and with you. Always, and that's okay. That's okay. You want them as focused and calm as you can, and you want them to disturb the class as little as possible. Always talk to the classroom teacher and ask for support.
Yeah, that's what we do, because we need a class teacher. Because we as well belong to the specialty. They just came to me when Chinese classes will come to me. Then the teacher will just very firm. They just scared of their teacher. The teacher come to my class, then they are all quiet.
Yes,
I understand that. I understand
heartbreaking. It's so heartbreaking to see them behave for someone else and then they don't for you. But it takes a lot of time and a lot of patience, and it does sometimes you have to be stern. That's what we trained them for. We have trained them to only behave when someone is stern, and that's
Yeah.
not your fault. And they can
Yeah.
still love you and still have fun in your class if you're stern, but don't be afraid. Don't be
But
afraid.
I agree that because we don't have advantage like stay all the day with them.
Right.
So we cannot have any punishment for them because they know time is past, then they just leave us. So they don't afraid of us, but their teacher, they stay all, most of the day with their teacher. Then they have a punishment.
All right.
They're afraid of that. That's
Yeah.
what happened.
So
So
here's
like,
an idea. Here's an idea that worked for me last year when I had the same problem. And because I was a substitute, they wanted their old teacher and they didn't want me. And so I had the
Yep.
same problem. So
Yep.
two things helped. One, time. It took a long time. I had to be very patient. And two, I did 3 strikes and there's a consequence. So the first time I said, I'm going to give you a frowny face. So I drew a smiley frowny. You have 1 frowny. You have 2 left. Everybody gets a chance to be a little crazy, but when those 2 are gone, there's a consequence. And so then if the next time somebody misbehaved, even if it was 30 seconds later, I gave them another frowny face. Then when it got to the 3rd frowny face, there was a consequence. Now, the first consequence was, I am going to tell your teacher exactly what happened.
Yeah.
We got 3 frowny faces in 5 minutes, and now your teacher will know. And I wrote it on the board so they could see, dear Mrs. Whomever, we lost 3 smiley faces in 5 minutes, so that I wouldn't forget when the teacher came, or that when we went back to the room, I wouldn't forget. So I wrote it either on the board or on a piece of paper so that I could make sure to show the teacher and point very clearly to the teacher. The other thing was, I ended the class every day with something I knew they would like a silly video. Even if it was in English, it was just a silly any kind of little video, and they lost that. And there's almost always 1 or 2 kids who don't want to lose something. They just don't. And they'll make everybody be quiet. But you're right. You need a consequence because we've trained them, sadly, we've trained them that unless there's a consequence, their behavior doesn't matter. So don't be afraid to say, use the reward. I have a fun video and I'm going to show you 2 minutes of it now. And if we don't get 3 frown faces, we're going to watch the rest of it at the end of class. So I just pick any little fun video in English or the target language that I know that they're probably going to like, or that they've seen before and I know they like, or that their teacher has told me they like, and I'm going to show them. And I just show them 1 minute or 2 minutes, and then I turn it off, and they're like, oh, and I say, I know. I can't wait to the end of the period. Now, remember, if we get 3 frowns, we can't watch it. And that usually helps a lot. There still will be days when they can't do it. But it's helpful. It's really helpful. And then,
So
go ahead.
Sorry. You are using the fun video as a reward.
Yes, and as a consequence, because if they don't get it, then they can't. But the trick is to show them the beginning of it first. Show them the beginning of the video first. So they're interested and they're excited, and then say, and we'll get to the end if we don't lose our smiley faces. And especially with the younger children, for kindergartners and 1st graders to anticipate that video at the end, they forget. They can only focus on this minute right now, and they forget. So at the beginning of the class, I start with what they want, the reward. I start with the reward, do a little bit, and then I can remind them of the reward, and it's right here in their mind all the way through. Does that help?
Yes.
And
the school always, like my school, this kind of not just happened to in my Mandarin class, also as a Spanish class.
Yes.
music class and art class. So they all just together. If like Laura said, if you their consequence, one of the most powerful is tell their teacher. So
Yes.
we always have a teacher to all the team and the classroom and the homeroom teacher. So that's what kids afraid of, most
Yes.
powerful.
Yeah,
But
it's
this
very
is the last
powerful.
step. Yeah.
So don't be afraid to use it. Don't be afraid to use it.
Yeah.
The goal is to let them have a couple of times, 2 or 3 times to make mistakes before the consequence hits. But then tell the teacher, and even you can even have a student be the one to tell the teacher, oh, look, Mrs. Martin is here now. We have a message for you, Mrs. Martin. George, can you tell Mrs. Martin our message, please? Because then it's not you tattling on the kids. It's the kids taking responsibility and saying, we lost our time. We were bad 3 times and we didn't listen 3 times. And I would go with not using bad or good. I would go with we didn't listen or we didn't follow directions, because then you're saying what the good stuff is out loud. We didn't follow directions 3 times. So now we have to tell you that we didn't listen well. And then that puts the words in a student's mouth, not out of yours. Yeah. So then when they say, you're always telling the teacher that we're bad. No. You're telling the teacher what you didn't do well yet. And then also let them share when they did do well. But encourage them to be the ones to share it, rather you being the one to tattle. And that's sometimes helpful too.
Yeah.
Okay.
It won't get better right away, but it will get better.
Just get better, and it will happen again. Then yes. Always better than bad again, then just like this.
Yes, there really is. I just got an email from the teacher last year. Just did. And she just wrote me and said, I have some students this year who really miss you. I thought they were so mad at me for taking her place that I didn't think they would ever miss me. But they do. But they also are very loyal, and it's hard for them to even switch from their teacher in the classroom to another teacher during the day. They have this idea that if they like another teacher, that they're somehow not loyal to their first teacher. Do you see how sometimes they only have 2 friends or 1 friend? And then to have another friend, they have to let go. I'm not friends with you anymore. I'm friends with her. Yeah. Because the way their hearts work and the way their brains work at that age is I can only do 1 at a time. So it's helpful when the teachers support you, because that gives them permission to like you. In their mind, they can only have 1 favorite teacher. And so this way, if the other teacher likes you, then that helps them too. So the little ones are much more complicated than we think.
Yes.
All right. Now, where are you? Come on, where are you?
So it should be next teacher to be introduced.
Yeah. So Hong Yang, where are you teaching right now?
I'm teaching at Dallas. It's a private school called Akron School.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, in Dallas, yeah.
I was in Austin last year, not too far from you.
Yeah, only like 4 hours away.
Yeah, I'm not too far now. I'm in Baton Rouge. That's not too far either.
Yeah, someday please drive over.
I would love to. I would love to. All right, who would like to go next? Go for it.
Yeah, I'm Jennifer Chang. I teach middle school, 6, 7, and 8 in Boston. I feel that I never teach an elementary school student, and so I feel like I'm in the heaven.
Sometimes 6th graders can be like that, though. Sometimes they can.
Oh yeah. I do have that experience. Like I think 2 years ago, have a student is very tough to deal with, But this year, I think because we have hybrid teaching, so I only have half student. Like for example, my biggest class is 18. So I only see it's like A to K like for their last name. So some of the class, the bigger is just 10 students, and it's much easier to
It's much easier.
it's much easier to work. So this year I don't have any classroom management problem, and my students, because I teach them for like for example 8th grade, I teach them for 2 years. We have a very good relationship. So even on Wednesday we teach online. They're still pretty good.
Yes.
Yeah, I have to see like 18 students at one time, but yeah, I think I consider I'm lucky this year.
Yes, well, and Jennifer, that's really important. Those first 2 years, especially the first year that you're in a school, is very, very hard. It takes the whole year to develop that relationship with kids. And when you come back the second year, it's so much easier and so much better.
Yeah.
And it's very hard to be there for the first year. It really is. But you are making a difference and you are reaching the kids. I promise you. You may never see that, but I promise you, those of you who are in your first year somewhere, you really are. You're planting a seed, and it's
yeah. Yeah. So 6th grade is the time I invest on them. Yeah, I have to really like go to the team meeting and really know my students. And after that, 7th and 8th grade, because I only have one class for each grade, and I'm the only teacher. So 7th grade, 8th grade, I know my student already. So,
absolutely. Yeah. All right. So who else is next? Rebecca, are you still there?
I think she. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, hi, Rebecca. You don't have to use the camera, but you can. Hi.
Yeah. So yeah, glad to see everyone here. I'm Rebecca Wang. I teach 7th through 12th.
And where are you, Rebecca?
Oh, I'm located in Dallas, but before I located in Austin.
So now you have a connection with 2 people.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I teach public school.
Mm-hmm.
My average class size is about 22 students. So before, I always feel the hardest grade is my middle school student. There are a lot classroom management problem, but this year we started hybrid teaching, so better. Yeah, it's almost not a classroom management problem, but my problem, I feel it's hard to get everyone engaged, and also even you saw they learn it, but later on they forgot so fast.
Yes.
And it's so hard for them to recognize the new Chinese characters. They cannot. Yeah, I don't know other teachers. That make my teaching so slow this year.
But that's good. It's okay for it to be slow. It's actually really good for it to be slow. And that's a hard thing to accept. That it's the slower you are, the better it is, because then they
I have the same problem.
Yeah.
My students, so I used to teach a theme base, like for example, my typical day unit base. So this year I start with this CI, and I start with the 6, 7, and 8. So my 7 and 8, they have other experience. So those students, especially those students are more advanced, because I do survey. This is the second time I do the survey, and the other day I do I think I do the survey in October, and I have 8 students say, no, I mean 6 students say, this is too slow. My pace is too slow. I have 64 students, but 6 of them say, I think that is fine. And then I do a survey again in December. Now I think I have 8 to 10, I think maybe 8 students say I'm still slow. And they want, Miss Chen, can we have the very important packet? Because we have a unit-based packet and a whole list of vocab. And they want to learn vocab. They feel that they didn't learn vocab enough.
Right.
They didn't learn, they feel insecure that they don't have a packet.
Yeah.
So,
So
so
what you can do for that is you can make them a packet.
I give them a packet after I finish the story.
Good idea. And you can give them, Quizlet or things like that for all of those vocabulary words.
Yeah,
And
I still do that. But then for example, we create a story, then I don't have the vocab before I even create a story. So I have to give them the vocab, the quizzes list in the middle of the unit. And then we do game kit everything. And I just feel, how do I fulfill my more advanced student for those who say I am a little bit slow?
So one way to do that is to make a reading that's a little bit harder for them. So that when you're doing the reading, they get one that's a little bit harder.
Yeah, that's my purpose. Last mentoring party, I asked it about free voluntary reading,
right.
because it's so Haiyun suggests go to reading corner. I went there. I saw a lot of reading materials, but some of them I don't think they're all very good quality because they were written by children, by student, not teacher.
Right. And so the first thing you need to know is that the readings that your students give are going to be for students. So in some ways, they're not going to be super quality in Chinese, but they might be fantastic for acquiring Chinese.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so even though it might not be perfect in Chinese, it might be perfect for acquiring Chinese. And you're right, student created stories that have not been adapted by a teacher are not always good. Right?
Yeah.
The idea is to find a story and then rewrite it for your students, because you're the only one who knows what they know.
Yeah, I also have another question. I don't know other Chinese teachers have the same, because I subscribe Terry was 中文不麻烦, and we finished the second story already, and the first one they thought, oh, the drawing is weird. and but then the second one is that the drawing is creepy, and because when we finished, they love the story. Then we read together, because I don't have a subscription, I just subscribe for myself, so I post it on the screen, so we read the whole class. They enjoy it and they understand it, and that's good. But I asked them to write reflection, and they say the story is creepy, and I don't know how.
Or the story is creepy.
The drawing.
The drawing.
Especially the second one, the octopus.
Yes. So
crying.
The next one, the next level to do is say, great, now we have a story. We're going to draw it.
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe.
So you give each student a sentence or each student a page and let them do a drawing for the page.
Oh, I can use the same story and then ask them to draw.
Yes.
I think that's a good idea and good practice. And
it's great reading practice, because then they can visualize in their head what those words meant. All right. And they're not getting they're creating clues for their classmates. And then they're really interested in rereading the story, because they want to see what their classmates have drawn. And what I tell the students is it's okay to use stick figures, because not everybody likes to draw.
I was wondering, would there be any kind of a legal issue?
No,
like I used Terry Watts' story to withdraw her story.
If you share it on the internet for people to see, that's illegal. If you sell it to anyone or give it to anyone, that is also not legal. But if you use it in your class and have them draw their drawings and share in class, that is perfectly fine.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. And I do that all the time.
I think that's a good
do it
idea.
all the time. In fact, my students know every time we get a story, we're going to draw it.
Oh, I was actually going to have a project based on what we read and then get the language and they create their own story. But I think that is a little bit harder and the project is a bit harder. But just illustrate Terry's was a story, maybe a little bit easy project. I don't know.
Yes, and I think that that's a good step to do next.
Okay.
And some of your older students may say, can I change some words?
Mm.
And if they want to, they can, or you could underline.
Oh yeah, maybe I can have two options. You can just do illustration because some kids just couldn't produce yet.
Right.
But you can maybe have inspire and create your own story.
And I would encourage you to underline the parts of the story that are easily changed. Then they'll make fewer mistakes and they'll be more successful. And the more successful they are, the better.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Especially those high achievers, they want to do well. So just go through and underline. You can change, maybe the main character is not an octopus or whatever. I forgot what the main character is in the second story, but and maybe if they eat something, is this the one with the pizza where they eat the pizza with all the weird stuff on it?
That's the first one. The second one is crying. They're eating that, the cereals and the mush, all and the main character is crying.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
So try that and then let us know how it goes. We would love to know.
Yes, thank you.
All right, who haven't we heard from yet?
I think that's everybody.
I think that's everybody. All right.
Yeah.
Fantastic. All right.
May I ask a question, Laura?
Okay, Rebecca, go ahead.
Yeah, I actually Jennifer just shared, just like we are about end of the semester. I want them to do like a midterm project or whatever, just review. I'm very new about CI. I see.
All right, we're good.
Oh, CI.
Yeah. Comprehensible.
Yeah, but yeah, I started just tried a little bit like last party Ru Lao Shi shared. I just started trying to make a story whatever, but I'm not familiar with and my student either.
Right.
So, but right now as the time I want them to review and then make their Chinese storybook. Yeah, like they can make a digital storybook or they can just handwriting make a book. But my question is what's the way? Yes, it's better to let them to make their story. Before I learned CI, I always gave them. Let them review what we learned. Like a Chinese one, we just learn greetings and their why do they live, what's how to introduce their name, their age, just very simple.
Right.
So yeah, based on those topics we learned and we do some review like and then they know the sentence structure well and some vocabulary. So and then they're going to make their own. It's kind of just repeat what they learned.
And that's beautiful. That's what you want. You want a project to reflect what they've done.
Yes.
Because you want them to grow during class with you. But then when you give a project as an assignment, that is to show off what they know. So one option is to have them do like an autobiography. So they're going to do a story about a book about themselves. You can be very clear about what you want. You can say page 1, tell me your name. And page 2, tell me your age and birthday.
Yeah.
It can be that clear.
Yeah, I do that. But my question is, should I tell them how many sentences they need to put. I
Yes.
always require them as like 1 to 3 sentences for each page and with picture and be creative, whatever. But I'm not sure, is there anything else I should tell the
One thing that's helpful is to say, if you have, so how many pages usually is the book?
I think right now we learned like about 8 or 10 small topics. So I will ask them to create 8 to 10 pages. Yeah.
So if there's 8 pages, all right, and they can do 1 to 3 sentences, all right,
1 to 3. Yes.
then it's going to be between 8 and 24 sentences.
Yes.
All right.
Mhm.
So this is, you can create a rubric and tell them that if you do 8 sentences, or maybe you do 8 to 10 sentences, it's going to be a C.
Yes.
That's what they'll get. And
Okay.
just create the rubric like that.
Yeah.
So then, 21 to 24 sentences will be an A.
Yeah.
And then they know right away
Mhm.
where they're going to try to go. So
Yeah.
maybe 16 to 18
Mhm.
is a B.
Yeah.
So now they know right away. Oops, would help if I got rid of these and made some space. There we go. Okay.
Mhm.
So to show them that, then they know from the beginning, should I, how ambitious am I? How much energy do I have? Do I want to try for a C or a B or an A? So
Mhm.
then they know. The second thing that I would tell them is sometimes it's helpful to do 1 sentence on every page first.
Yeah.
Then go back and do a second sentence on every page.
Mhm.
And then a third sentence on whatever pages you can.
Yeah.
Because that way, all the pages get done with at least 1 sentence. Because
Yeah.
these kids here may end up with 3 sentences on every page. And then by page 8, or by page 3, they're exhausted and they can't think anymore. So
Yeah.
you can set up a template for them that they're going to fill in. See if I can get the right color here.
Mhm.
And I apologize if this is making sense before I make the template, but afterward people will come and watch this, and it will only make sense to them if they see it. So page 1,
Mhm.
page 2, etc. So then, and you may even want to put an A and a B and a C on each page. So now everybody, we're all going to write our A sentences.
Mm.
And now let's go to page 2. We're going to write 2A. What's the first sentence you want on that page? And the first sentence you want on page 3. And then when all of those are done, all the way to page 8, now you can go back and do the B sentences.
Oh, yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. That seems for the student more clear and easy.
Yes.
Easy. Yeah.
Yes. And that's what we want. We want them to be successful. And this way we know that they will probably get the book done in case you have students who might not get the book done because they're trying too hard.
Yeah.
Get too tired. And I also don't let them draw the pictures until they've written the first 8 sentences, until every page has a sentence. Because they get very excited about the drawing.
Yeah.
And then there's no language.
I see.
And then so I give them 2 grades. I give them 1 grade for the rough draft, which is just the sentences. And then I give a 2nd grade for the completed project.
Yeah.
And that way I'm rewarding them for doing the language first.
Yeah.
And so
That's
those things might be helpful.
Mhm.
And usually, I mean, with your high school students, this might not be necessary, but even with my freshmen in high school and sophomores in high school, I find it really helpful to do this, to let them start it during class.
Yeah, the procedure is more clear.
Yes.
Before I give them 1-page instruction actually, some of them were lost. Just like you said, they speak on page one, page two, they never done.
Yeah, they don't have the executive function in their brain yet to be able to break it down. So we want to do that for them. Because what we're really grading here is their use of the language and their understanding of the language. They're not ready yet to be graded on, can you organize your writing?
Yeah.
So excuse me, when you say each page is a sentence A, that's exactly the same sentence? Just repeat that sentence or the different sentence?
So here, this is page one is about your name.
Uh-huh.
So you say, my name is Lori.
Yeah.
And then this one is about where I live. So I'm going to do, I live in Louisiana.
Oh, so it's different sentence. Just put one sentence in.
One sentence in each page. I am 15 years old. Okay. And I do that for every page because every page has a theme. All right. So that she's covering all of the important information that she does. So, and when I go back and I have all those done, I might start with hi, everyone. And then I already have two sentences. My name is Lori. I live in Louisiana. I live in, this would be sentence B.
Oh, yes.
I live in Baton Rouge. I'm 15 years old. My birthday is in September.
That's right. Oh, that's great. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
And the thing is that it's helpful if we help kids with that because they don't always know what we have in mind. And so that's helpful to let them do that. So each page, and so the next one might be my favorite things to do are, and page 5 might be about my family, and page 6 might be about my school, and page 7 might be about my pets, you know, whatever the topics are that she's covered.
Yes.
And you know that you can say, the hard ones are like, how do you say 3 things about your name? Well, you're right, that is hard. So let's do a greeting. And, you know, my name is Lori, and we could do my last name is Clark.
That's right.
And
in Chinese, a Chinese name and English name.
Yes, beautiful. That's a great idea. Great idea. And if I were doing this for younger students, I would actually give them the text and let them fill in blanks. So what this really becomes for them is a reading activity. My English name is blank. My Chinese name is blank. I live in this, you know, if you've done it, I live in the state of Louisiana, or I live in, and have them circle even is fine.
What do you mean the circle?
So here's a sentence. Which one is true? I live in an apartment.
Oh. Or the house.
I live in a house, right. Now, you have 2 choices. You can have students just circle it and draw next to it, or if they're writers and they can copy, they just pick the sentence that is for them and put it in their book. So one of these is probably true. Which one? So highlight it and now put it in your book. Or even copy and paste, because at that level, what they're showing off is their ability to read and understand.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Okay. And then if you want to bring in writing, if they're ready for writing, they can, but you don't have to. If all you want them to show off is their ability to read, then they're going to copy and paste the one that pertains to them and put it on their page. And then they can share their books with each other and read and understand each other's books.
Yeah.
So a couple of different ways to do that because I've done this with elementary students also. I've done this with students as young as 1st grade, actually.
Yeah, if you just put fill in the blank and multiple choice.
Yes.
Yeah, you choose with
absolutely.
one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when they're done, they have this project that A, they're proud of because it's about them. B, they really understand it because it's about them. And
That's
C,
right.
they did it themselves. So and it's about them in the target language. So it's a really wonderful project.
Mhm.
Now, for those of you who teach upper grades, if you teach middle school and high school, my middle schoolers are actually doing the same exact thing. They're doing a story and
Mhm.
drawing it for their midterm project. And what we did was we read a story about an elephant in class, and they illustrated it in class. And the project is the next part of the story. So there are no new vocabulary words in the story. All right. He goes to one place, does one thing, it doesn't work out. That was the beginning of the story. Now he moves to another place and he's happy, and the story is about why he's happy here, and he wasn't happy in the first house, but now he's happy in the second house. So there's absolutely nothing new in it, except the story has changed, but the vocabulary words are the same. Is happy because, likes to, is able to. And their job is to read that story and draw the little drawings. So it can be used at any level, and it can be as simple as reading and choosing, or in my upper levels, if I were teaching a level 3 or 4, I would let them write it, but probably not until level 3. Even with level 2, I would be having them just change a story that already exists. Because your goal is to get language that's right in their head.
Mhm.
So this way you know that the language that you're inputting as they do the project is going to be right, and that's always your goal.
Lori, I know that you're going to talk about assessment next
Yes.
week.
Yes.
Okay, so I probably won't ask you the question until after that.
Would you tell me now so that I can make sure it's part of the presentation?
Because I was wondering what is the best way to do assessment. So right now, what I'm doing is I do. What did I do? I do first like listening comprehension. In the pretty like in the middle of the story creating, and then after that I do I use GameKit to test their vocab. And then after that, sometimes I would do a speaking assessment. Like, for example, if I have a story about a puppy, then I ask them to talk about their puppy.
Mm-hmm.
I use Flipgrid.
Okay.
And then I remember after that, one time I used Pear Deck to test their reading and writing assessment. The reason I do that is that I know that Google Form they can see the translation,
Yes.
but Pear Deck they couldn't see, and
Right.
I do it like just one cohort in person, and I can also see from my Pear Deck teacher side I can see the answer.
Mm-hmm.
And I also do, after we finish the story, I also do the illustration.
Yes.
My 7th grade is not very like high level, so even like doing, I think they have executive function problem.
Right.
Even like we create the story, I only ask them to do illustration. I say, if you draw, I will be very happy. If you just pull out the picture to your Google slide to do illustration, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Sometimes they don't even do it. You know, it is assessment, a home assessment. And mostly they get 80% above. And I think that's what I've been doing. But I'm just like, am I doing it correctly?
I'm going to tell you right off the top of my head, I think you could probably right now do a presentation on assessment.
Presentation, you mean they present the story?
Yeah, right now I'm thinking that some of our colleagues would be going, really, could you please do a presentation on Flipgrid and Pear Deck for us? Because I don't know how to do that. So it sounds to me like you are doing a million things right.
Okay.
So this is what
that's good to know, because this is the first year and I'm the only Chinese teacher. And I don't have a lot of Chinese peers to ask. So I am just doing what I think.
Yes, your instincts are very good. And this is the sort of thing we're going to talk about in detail next week, or at least as much detail. We could do 8 hours on assessment easily. easily next week. So, but we're going to try to, it sounds to me like you were doing exactly what you need to do.
Okay,
It does.
that's good to know.
Yeah. There are lots and lots of ways to assess. And if they work for you and your students, it's the right thing. And so next week, we're going to look at what are the central questions about assessment. What are the like 3 main things I need to ask myself before I give an assessment? And then how can I accomplish those things? So that's what we're going to look at. And then we're going to give time for sharing. And we might even do breakout rooms. So if somebody wants to, for example, find out about Flipgrid, we could do a breakout room on Flipgrid, and just people who want to talk about Flipgrid could go to a breakout room on Flipgrid. And we might do that. Depends how many people we have. It's a good time to do assessment because it's sort of end of the semester, but it's a bad time for everybody because it's the holidays. So we may have a lot of people and we may have very, very few people. And I think what I think is that when we come back in January, we'll do another mentoring session just on assessment.
Okay, that's good. Because I always remember from Stephen Krashen said that speaking and writing assessment is very expensive.
Yes.
You should use the time to give more input.
Absolutely.
Instead of doing this assessment. And also assessment, it takes a lot of time of students' energy and teachers' energy.
It does.
And so I don't want to do a lot, but I also feel that how do I assess my student?
This is a conversation that Dr. Krashen and I have every time I'm with him, every single time.
So
he has gotten, he's really opened his mind. In the past 2 years, he has devoted himself to figuring out how his theories actually work in a classroom for teachers. Because the theory in itself works beautifully. But when you're teaching in a public school system, you have parameters, you have boundaries, you have lists of things you must do. So how you can make the theory teaching work in a system that isn't made for it is a challenge. And he and I talk about this all the time because it's important. The theory is what matters, but you can't use the theory if you don't have a job. So how can we keep our jobs in public schools and private schools and still use the theory? So I love talking about this topic. It's really, really important. Ideally, we would never have to assess formally. Ideally, Krashen is right. We should never have to assess. We don't assess babies.
In our school, the Montessori, they don't want us.
Yeah, you don't worry about that.
I don't want that. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
but
they don't want the
in
assessment.
many schools, formal assessment is required, and it's important, and it sort of runs your program. In many schools, the assessments, the midterm assessments, the national exams that are given, they are key cornerstones of the program. If you teach in an AP school or it's super important to get those kids successful for the AP. So we have a lot of things to address, but the bottom line, the real bottom line is formal assessment is not required to acquire language. So how do we design formal assessments to not be too expensive, right? To not take away the time and energy that our kids need to acquire language. And then, because informal assessment is our most powerful tool, how do we help teachers learn to be really good at informal assessment? Because no one taught us how to do that.
That's right.
So
that's my question, because we don't have a formal assessment, but if we have the informal assessment, then I know what student master or not.
Right. And for us, as CI teachers, everything we say is based on what our students know. So we always need to know what they know.
Yeah.
And that is a skill that every CI teacher I know works on all the time. I mean, this is my 20th year, and I am still working on getting better at it. Because every group of kids is different. So it's kind of the fun part of it. because it's about getting to know your kids and the language and how do you put those things together. So next week, we'll look at both of those things, the informal and the formal. And then my hope, my plan is to, in January, to do at least one mentoring session with assessment, because I think that the one presentation next week is not going to be enough, especially during the holidays. And by January, there will be a group of people who've already finished their assessments, and they can now come back and say, wow, I did this, and this is what happened, now what? And that's good information for people who haven't given assessments yet to share. So that'll be a good opportunity for us to do that. So when does Chinese New Year start this year? In
February 14, I think.
Oh, okay. Thank you for letting me know that. That will be helpful.
It's this year is late, so we have more time to prepare for New Year.
Yay! Yay!
I have a question.
Yes.
So what you're going to do to celebrate Chinese New Year in the Chinese class? You know, this year I feel so hard to let them do the group work this year.
Yeah.
So even we learn a Chinese song, I found it much harder than normal.
It's going to be harder. And I think that that's why I was asking, because I think that also in January, we should do a special mentoring about Chinese New Year.
Oh, yeah.
And do it in January so that it's early enough that, people can think ahead a little bit.
That's great.
because I think that it's a huge, enormous piece that I know in almost everybody's curriculum. But I'm going to share something with you now that may lead you in that direction. Now, because you all teach different levels, this might, it definitely would have to be adapted, but it's something that I want to think about for this year. And especially if you're new to CI, this will help you kind of get an idea of how to think outside of the box that we usually go in for teaching. And there's just so much going on here. One of the things we do very much in a CI classroom is to deal with the whole child, which I know is also a Montessori piece, and it's an AP piece, and it's really a good teaching piece. But again, no one really tells us, how do we do this? So I wanted to put this together for you and see if this is helpful. And we can stop at any time and ask a question about any slide. All right, so this is a way to start it. Because our students are all going to be having a vacation coming up, my thought was, with my students, what I'm going to do is just do a little talk about vacation plans. And because it's COVID, and because the plans are going to be so different, I think this can help our students look forward to the vacation in a positive way, even if it's not the same vacation they're used to. So one of our goals is to ask ourselves, how can we recognize the change, that it's going to be different and they might be sad, but also give them, I hope, that there are wonderful things to look forward to. Now, whether you're teaching the very beginning kids or the older kids, you want to pick one of these phrases that works best for you in Chinese. So I want, is that the best phrase to choose for a simple level 1 Chinese student?
Yes. I just did it.
Wonderful. So the idea is you want to pick a phrase, and if you're teaching English, you want to pick a phrase that works best for your English students. And any one of them is fairly simple. They don't know that any of them are difficult. You can also use the near future. So either I want to, or I will, or I'm going to. Oh, come on, little machine, do your thing. So last week, if you were here, we talked about that 4-square preparation piece. And with this one, you can put it together for them if you want to, or if you have upper level students, you can have them brainstorm with you. What are some things that you could do that you think you and your friends are going to do over the vacation? If they're beginning students, you pick the ones that they already know, always, and then you limit it. So if I were doing kindergarten or 1st grade, I would only do 2 or 3. I would do play, see, and eat. with the little kids, or just one or two of them. With the upper kids who know more and have more vocabulary, you can make a longer list. I would also do these words with a picture with the lower kids. I would put play, and I would put a picture of somebody either playing a game or playing a sport. Are they the same verb in Chinese? To play a game and to play a sport, is it the same game?
Yes.
Oh, or the
Yes.
same verb? Okay. And so that would answer a what question. What do you want, or what will you do? And then where, these are things that, you know, this is information that a lot of them have already had, and you don't have to put anything new here, anything. And you can use proper names, because if your students are here in the US, feel free to say at Walmart, at Applebee's, at Pizza Hut, you know, at places that they can say in English, because it's the concept and the language of saying where something takes place that we're trying to get in their brain. And then again, this structure here, all right, is super important in whatever language you're teaching. That possessive, you know, who, my friends or his friends or whatever, that's super important. And then these are ones that you almost always have to give them, but you want to give them things that they know how to say. So if they know, let me go back. If they know I'm happy, and almost all kids know I'm happy by this point in the year, then why? Because I'm happy. Why do you play video games? Because I'm happy when I play video games. Why do you see your family? Because I love my family. So they don't have to come up with any of this by themselves. We can make a gigantic poster. We can keep it on a slide, or each child can have a copy to use while we talk about it.
Lori, would you mind share this page with us?
And no, I'm going to absolutely share it. I'm going to put the PowerPoint up on the group page.
Oh, okay.
Everybody
Okay,
can
good.
adapt it, okay?
Laura, may I ask you one
Yeah.
question? This is a great ideas, but problem is like my Chinese 1 student, they haven't learned so many, even answer why question. They haven't learned yet. So is
here's what you're going to do. Let's do this. Let's adapt it for your students. All right. So
Okay.
your Chinese 1. Oh wait, I don't want to do that. I want to go back. I'm sorry. I forgot I can't write on it when it's like that. So of the things that they would want to be able to do, tell me one that they would know already. Like maybe they couldn't produce it, but if you said it, they would absolutely know. Any of these?
They know see
Good.
and eat.
Okay. Awesome. We can just do those too.
Mhm.
If you want to introduce a new one, just pick one you want to introduce. Just one. Okay. But maybe we just do see and eat. We want this to be an end of the year activity with using old language in new ways. Okay. Which is new for them. To use old familiar things in unfamiliar ways is a step up. All right. So in the where, which of these would they know how to do?
At
Right.
home,
Good.
at home,
At home.
and yeah, they learn the country, they learn the place.
Oh, good. So they could do in a country.
I think even they don't learn yet, we can use English to replace
Exactly.
that place.
Can they do it at school? If you
Yeah.
said at school, would they know what it meant? Not to produce it, but would they recognize it? Do they know the word school?
Not yet.
Okay. Then
Not my student yet.
okay. So let's keep, this is beautiful. This is what's hard to figure out. And so when we do this, we're helping you and we're helping anybody else who sees this, how to make it as simple as possible. All right. And yes, you can, this country or this restaurant, that can be in English. That's fine. That is
Yeah.
absolutely fine. Because what we're teaching them is the structure of how to put at a place in the language. Then when they know more words, they already know the structure and how to do it. They just can put the words in. So do they know friends,
Yes.
family?
Some, yes.
So do they know the word family?
Similar.
They know some of the pets,
No.
my
Yeah.
student.
And can they do like individuals, like my dad, mom? Would they
It's
be?
the
Absolutely.
Yes.
not the first year. Not yet.
Now first year, I teach them those words earlier. Yeah.
All right. So you choose for your kids which
Okay.
ones they could do. So team is not a word yet that they would have. But if you might just do dog or cat, if you have
Yeah,
those,
my
that's work.
first year, no dog, cat, mouse, all this.
I'm going to suggest one word in here that's new, and that is alone.
Mhm.
Or by myself, whichever works, however you would best say that. Because the kindergarten, first, second graders are not going to need that word, but fourth, fifth, sixth, middle school, high school, they are going to need that word. So it's that developmentally doing things alone is really important to kids once they get to fifth and sixth grade. So if you have younger kids, I wouldn't include it necessarily, but if you have kids that are fifth grade and above, this is a wonderful thing to start asking them about, because developmentally, they're starting to do that and enjoy it. They're starting to want time at home and doing things alone. Now, I know that this is not something you've done with your words, but there's two things that are easy to teach. It's
That's
fun,
right.
not fun.
That's one of the super 7.
Yeah, exactly. So, and it's easy, and they don't have to memorize it. They just have to recognize it, because you're going to talk to them about it in either or. You're going to offer it to them, and they're going to pick one.
Mhm.
And it's a great introduction to why, because it really and truly, to make things interesting, we add the why. That's what really makes things interesting. So when you've got those kids that are kind of wandery and whatever, it's because actually their brains want those more personalized questions. And this is the kind of thing that will help them to join the conversation, because that will fascinate them, that they can say why they like something. So here's a super simple thing. And you're going to ask students one at a time, all right, or as a group, what do you see, or what will you see at Christmas? And you can make it very simple with yes or no. Sorry, this is big so we can see it. And we'll just make an example. Will you see? And then you put in a picture for your youngest kids. For your absolutely youngest kids, will you see? And they don't have to know what these words mean. They don't, because you're going to put in a picture.
Good idea.
It would help if I could spell.
That's definitely.
So will you see, and then you just write a Christmas tree. All right. And then, here, let me write the words. If you want to just say a tree and not worry about Christmas with your youngest kids, that's fine. The pictures of a Christmas tree, they're going to know. So, and then you write, I will see. I'll just put tree for now. Save us some time.
Mhm.
And I'm going to tell you right now, I know what they're going to say.
I know that Spanish teacher don't teach future tense until very late. So in this case, if you are a Spanish teacher, you're going to teach
It's easy.
future tense.
It's easy in Spanish. Yeah, it's really easy in Spanish. So thank you for bringing that up, because there's two ways to do it. One is, do you see trees on vacation?
Oh,
Right? And you can do present tense. Do you see trees? So, ¿ves árboles? ¿Ves árboles o no ves árboles? So you can do the present tense. You can also, the future tense is not hard. It's really eeasy. The kids don't know that it's the future tense. They don't care.
So I think that's totally fine. I think because in Chinese you will use that 你会看到一棵圣诞树. It's a little bit different though.
But it's okay. It does, as long as the students understand you, it doesn't matter. So in Spanish, here's the difference. Ves, do you see? Verás. Will you see? I mean, But if the kids don't know verás, and your kids are going to be nervous, I wouldn't use verás. But the beauty of Spanish is this: the form of the verb in the future tense is up there, and our kids know the infinitive forms of the verb, so it's easy to do future. But it doesn't matter. Present tense is fine. Do you see trees? And if I taught kindergarten already, they would be jumping up to say, I have 12 trees. My grandma has 5 trees. I have. And
I think maybe there is a good chance to just introduce the future tense.
Yeah, it is. It's a great trick because you don't care if they
Yeah.
master it. You just want to encourage conversation in your class and connection amongst your kids while you're speaking Chinese. All right, that's our goal. Introduce positive reaction in the class and interaction in the class while the teacher provides Chinese. That's the goal. Comprehensible Chinese. And that will do it because it doesn't matter if it's a Christmas tree or a cookie or a puppy or a toenail. It doesn't matter. Kindergarten and first grade, they don't care. They'll tell you, yes, I have this many and grandma has this many and my friend has this many and I want one. And, you know, they'll just communicate like crazy. And then the teacher's job is to put it into Chinese. So if I were teaching K-12 or K-2, my next question would be, how many trees will you see? Where will you see trees? And we'll count how many trees we'll see. It'll be a very basic, very simple conversation. And we
So basically this assignment is more like a story asking.
Yes, it's actually conversation asking.
Conversation asking. And how long would you do this? Like how many class period?
As many as I want. You can do one. Really, it doesn't matter because it's the structure. So what you want to do is, as long as the conversation is comprehensible and under control. All right.
Okay. Do you, because I know that, do you have like an outline or?
So I'll add one in here so that we can see. But the one thing I would do is if you can do it, to do it with slides because it controls you and you don't have to think about it during the class. So if you want to stay away from Christmas as a theme because you want to be more diverse in your classroom, or you have a wide variety of communities in your school, you can take it completely out of the Christmas universe.
We can say winter break. I don't know.
Yes, winter break. Yep. And will you see family? And just get rid of the tree and put in a picture of family and take out the word tree and put in family, because people are going to see their family on winter break. Will you watch, will you see a movie? Will you see a program? Almost all kids have a program that's very popular, whether it's a movie or a television show, you know, something that's coming up that is popular. And you only have to talk about one thing. If you only talk about seeing family, that's fine. You don't have to talk about seeing family and seeing a tree and seeing friends and seeing new presents. You don't have to talk about all those things.
I have a question.
One is enough.
So when we do this kind of a, you say, conversation asking,
Yes.
and we probably will have all this language in the conversation, and some of the conversation or some of the language the student didn't know yet.
And don't use it.
How do I? So in this case, I will only use the language they know.
You go back to that chart that you made.
Yeah. So I only use the language they know.
Beautiful. Only use language they know. Now look where you go from this. Say you went to tree. Now you don't have to use Christmas tree. Maybe you could just use the word tree if you want to. And now, what can you ask about these trees that every student would know? When you see a tree, what kind of trees do you see? Do you see
big or small?
Big or small? Do you see green trees or yellow trees? Do you see silly trees? Do you, I mean, any vocabulary word that you know that they know, but even just doing big, small or medium, whether you do colors, that in itself is wonderful. That's enough.
how do we make the conversation interesting or like,
Here's
get
why
it
it's
compelling?
Here's why it's compelling. It's compelling because the kids are going to tell you the answers. Okay? And they will find that interesting. They will find
We
that.
don't have to be going crazy. I mean,
No, you don't. When they talk to you about a tree and they tell you the tree, you can even ask, is the tree inside your house? And tell them that in English. Is it inside your house or outside your house? If you want to not use the Chinese. If you want to use the Chinese, what a great time to introduce inside and outside. So the tree is inside your house. If they have a Christmas tree in their house, I guarantee it will be fascinating to them. If they have a tree in front of their house that they like and they climb and they sit next to and they play around, okay, that tree is important and interesting to them.
yeah, sometimes I feel like middle school students, they want to be cool. Like, they don't want to talk about these very common things.
So if you don't want to talk about a tree with middle school students, what do you want to talk about with middle school students?
I don't know.
Well, okay, so I would ask them, I would go with a TV program. Because all of them watch something. Or will you see TikTok?
They love TikTok.
And it's easy to say, who will you see on TikTok? Okay, because they have about 5 people that they follow. So I will see here's one, Charli D'Amelio. I only know this because my students taught me, otherwise I would have no idea. Seriously.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. So I ask them, who do you see on TikTok? And then I put the names up on the board. All right. So, and then they tell me. And then I can ask individuals, or I can ask, raise your hand if you see Charli D'Amelio on TikTok. Raise your hand if you never see Charli D'Amelio on TikTok, because they'll have strong feelings about it.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
parents won't let them watch TikTok, so they can't,
Yeah.
So TikTok is a very important thing. The other thing that shows up on TikTok all the time is dancing.
Yeah.
And so the word dancing or dances and dancers, any of those things, people who dance, however you want to word that in Chinese, is very popular. And that almost always leads to some kid in the classroom, when you say dances on TikTok, some kid's going to start doing their TikTok dance, okay? And then I look at the kid and say, are you on TikTok or TikTok? Will you see Mary Beth on TikTok? Okay. And that is interesting to them.
Yeah, that will get them very excited.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, very excited. And in either in a positive or a negative way. And it's okay. So one of the things that you can do, now the question is, you have this question. Now you have to figure out, how do I converse with the class? So you can just start out and do it. If you teach at the upper levels and you want to lead in, you want to have a lead in piece, you can do that. You can talk about yourself, what you're going to watch, or what you're going to see, or your Christmas tree. And then ask them. So you start talking about yourself and then talk about them, or with a video clip from TikTok. Easy to do. In fact, I have actually in the past said, for homework, would you please send me your favorite dance clip from TikTok? And then I use their dance clips to talk about TikTok, because that really freaks them out. And it doesn't have to take a lot of time. You just take the first 2 you get, watch them, make sure they're not gross.
Laurie,
and then
do you have your TikTok account?
I don't yet. The kids keep telling me I need to get one, but I should. So there's ways to do it. You can have them, do thumbs up and thumbs down. Do you watch TikTok? Do you have a tree? You can, there's lots of ways to have them answer and control the answer in the conversation. But my favorite one is to just do a chart. is to keep a chart. And for kids who need to be held responsible for what they're doing in class, or if you teach in a school that really wants kids, held responsible academically for everything they do, I just create a chart based on what I'm going to ask them. And then they're going to, while we follow along, they're going to put in the student's name, Jennifer, and then, Jennifer watches Charli D'Amelio, okay, and she watches Charli D'Amelio on her phone, at home, and she watches with her sister because she's a fan of Charli D'Amelio. So that's an easy sentence. She's a fan, okay? And then we keep track, and I don't have to keep track of who did what and who remembered what, because the kids are going to do it for me.
In this chart, where Y is different from that, the four square preparing is different.
Good point. Why? Because I just thought of that choice. And so I could go back. I'm going to go back here maybe, and I would add it. Okay. Because before we were talking about trees and food, and I wasn't thinking TikTok, but the minute I started to talk about TikTok, it gave me the idea, why do you watch TikTok? Because I'm a fan, or I like it. Okay, that's a beautiful question. Thank you. And you can feel free, if you think of a really good thing, or a student thinks of a really good thing that's comprehensible and you just didn't think of it before, just pause and go back and add it. Yeah, that's great. Let's add it, and go back and put it on the list. And that makes that student feel wonderful. And it gives us all more things to say. So I'm going to put this in white, it's so hard to see in black.
So who is filling out this chart?
I make truthfully, I make all my students do it.
Oh, now, you give them the chart, ask them to fill it in?
And ask them to fill it in, because this is an informal assessment for me. All right, they're going to send it to me right then. When we're all done, like 5 or 10 minutes after we've been talking for 5 or 10 minutes, and I want to go do something else, I say, okay, everybody submit this. I would put it for me on Canvas, and I would have everybody submit it, and then I can just go through SpeedGrader on Canvas. You would have your own way to do that. You don't even have to correct it. You just have to quickly look at it and see if it's pretty much filled in the right way.
Do they do the target language for this?
Target
or
language, yes.
Target language.
And if you want to, the first time we do it, I model it. I put it like on the board, or I put it up on the screen, and I model it, and we do it together. Or I let them look at it. If they're sitting next to each other, they hold up theirs and show it to a partner, so they don't have to get close. Say, mine's filled in. Is yours filled in? Let's see what yours looks like. And they just to keep track, keep accountable that they're paying attention. This keeps the kids that are wandering around accountable. You can do this even in kindergarten if you make it very simple.
But this activity basically is for the speaking, right?
This activity is listening
and speaking.
Primarily, responding, which could be speaking, or it could be giving signals. Right? I may talk to Jennifer, and Jennifer doesn't say a word, and I say, Jennifer, do you watch TikTok? Do you watch Mark Anthony on TikTok? Do you watch somebody else's name? Charlie's the only one I know. And then finally you say, do you watch? Oh, then I'm not getting an answer from Jennifer. So I turn to John and I say, John, who do you watch on TikTok? John says, Charli D'Amelio. And I see out of the corner of my eye, Jennifer's going. So I'm like, oh, Jennifer watches Charli D'Amelio, and John watches Charli D'Amelio. Now, I could also have a very good student be doing the typing on the board. But the thing is that if I stop and take the time to do it the very first time, 2 things happen. The students know I'm listening. They know I'm paying attention, and I slow down enough to give them time to write it down. So if I have to stop and write it down, that gives them time to stop and write it down. So I like to, with my beginning students, this year my students are 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. With my 6th and 7th graders, I still write in front of them so they can see it. They need it. It keeps them accountable. It keeps them focused. I make sure everybody's successful. By 8th grade, they don't need to. Okay, I may just do the first line, and then after that I say, okay, now you know what we're doing. I'm gonna let you do the writing now, and you don't need me to keep track. And if some kid needs it, they'll ask. Otherwise, every couple of people I'll say, all right, turn and show your chart to somebody next to you and fill in any blanks you have. And they get a minute, 2 of a brain break to talk. I don't even care if it's in English, and fill in the things they need to fill in. Then we come back together and add a couple more people. And I have them hit submit. And that gives me an accountability grade, which my school requires. I have to have accountability grades. It allows the kids to be held accountable for it. And I get a list of who does what, so that if I ever need to refer to it later, I have it and I didn't have to worry about remembering it, which is super helpful.
Yeah, I'm teaching in person, so I don't think, I have to figure out other things to do.
That's how I do it in person.
Oh, because when I teach in person, I don't have my students have their laptop out.
They can do it on a sheet of paper.
And I don't want to touch the paper, so we.
That's fine. That's fine.
I have to figure things out.
All right. So then what you do is you stop and you write it up here. Or you have a student if you want, but you don't want students touching your stuff either. All right. Then you just stop and write it down. You just write it.
Yeah.
And say, I want to keep a record of lists. Let's keep so we don't forget, and then stop. And what it gives you the chance to do is go back and ask questions again. So you get to review the questions, and there's a purpose to it to keep track. Okay.
Yeah.
And then
that's good.
Yeah, and it's helpful because then maybe you get down and you're on your 5th person, and your 5th person watches Charli D'Amelio because they like one song of Charli's. Now you can go back and ask the other people who watch Charli, Jennifer, you watch Charli. Do you like that song? Right, and it gives you some things you can go back to and remember. Another way to do this is to create a paper chain. So again, this depends on how touchy you want things to get. I always have the kids, before we do anything where they touch anything, they hand sanitize. So they've hand sanitized first. They write one thing they want to do over the vacation on the chain. They just hand me the strips, okay? They just I come around and collect the strips. I knew they hand sanitized before they did it. I let the strips sit for 24 hours. I hand sanitize, I staple them together, I hand sanitize again. But then that gives me a prop that I can use in class. And a reason, a celebratory kind of a reason. Let's celebrate all the things that we have, that we're gonna do over the vacation. You can create a class book with the information. This one is an easy one to do for a homework assignment. So say we had that conversation, and some people got to say what they watch and some people don't. So I do a slideshow homework where they each get one slide, and I assign them each a slide in Google Slides, and they're gonna put their information on one slide. And I could have everything on there. I see blank, and their only job is to fill in the blank and put a picture. And then the next day, I have a slideshow of everybody in the class and who they watch and a picture of that person. And so that provides me with more and more material that I can do. But the idea is then after vacation, you have a record that you can go back and connect with. Did you do this? Okay. What you're going to find is that some kids will do things that they didn't plan on doing because somebody else talked about it during the vacation. Or they will remember. So, they can't remember to be quiet, but they can remember lots of other things. And for me, the transition, and this is how I'm leading to Chinese New Year. I'm going to go through this quickly, and we can talk more about it another time. But the idea then is to make the transition and say, because we come back before New Year's, and you could do this before or after New Year's. Now, I wouldn't do it for 2nd grade or below because it's not a concept they would do. But for 3rd grade and above, they get this idea of making a goal. And now you're changing. You could be still using I want to, because that's what you did earlier. Or maybe you're just changing from I will do to I want to. which is a very small change. And then they're going to tell you one thing they want to do in 2021. And starting like 3rd, 4th, 5th grade, they all know 2020 has been a disaster. They all know that. They've all heard it over and over again. So now we want to set a positive tone for 2021. So now here's a new year. What do you want to do that you always do? What do you want to keep doing? What do you want to do that's new? And use all those things we just talked about to have that conversation. But this is the key one here. Even if you're talking with little kids, what we want to look at in 2021 is, how can we support you? Now, you're going to have to help me in Chinese. Can I say this easily in Chinese? How can I support you, or how can we support you?
我怎么帮你? I think. What do you think, 王老师?
我们都还没有学呢，我没想过，没教过学生。
I think 怎么 is easy. Like every day I ask them, 你今天怎么样? So they know how. So the only word in this is just support. So I can say help. Like in Chinese is help. Is 我怎么帮你?
对，
老师怎么帮你?
You can do, in English it's complicated because we have this weird question structure. But you can just, if you don't want to do the be able to, you could just do how do we support you. You can keep it that simple. It's not perfect, but it's comprehensible.
Yeah, I think in Chinese, I don't think it's very hard. I don't know, but for the younger kids, my kids will be able to do it.
Yes. Well, if it's a new word, it doesn't matter because they don't know that support is an upper level word. They don't know that. They just know it's a word. But you could also use help if that one's more, if that one feels better for your age group. But the idea is that let's start 2021 with this concept of helping each other and build this in as a positive thing for 2021 right from the beginning. Here's something you want to do in 2021. How can we help you? Because when you start with this, then you can go that the whole year with how can we help you? So you seem tired. How can we help you? You seem sad. How can we help you? And depending on your level, okay, you can make this very simple or very complicated. So upper levels can say more things like this, but lower levels can simply be the student, oh, I'm gonna do new slide. The student can simply say, I need. And these are things we want kids to be able to say that are in the Super 7. I need or I want.
Yeah.
And so maybe it's I need a high five. And they can say high five in English, it doesn't matter. And the whole class doesn't touch them, but gives them the high five. I need a smile, or I need smiles. And the whole class can smile. I need, and this is something you can build in easily, a cheer.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the word would be in Chinese, but in Spanish, we just simply have a lot of cheers where we just say their name 3 times really great, like, Diane, 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 yes! Okay, it doesn't even have to be target language, but it's just encouraging, and I need a cheer. So when I see a student that's sad, because we've done Are You Happy or Sad, I can start saying, do you need a smile? Do you need a cheer? And I don't give them a choice. Which one do you need, a smile or a cheer? Nothing is not a choice, okay? Which one do you need, a smile or a cheer? We're going to give it to you. Class, he needs a smile. Everybody, 1, 2, 3. And then it gives those little really wildly kids something to let their wigglies out on, and it gives some positive pieces to the other kids. And then we're gonna build on this all year long. What do you need? All right, so look at how easy this can go. I need a moment. All right, are you ready? I need a moment. Can we start? I need a moment. All right, and so it gives this expression, and maybe a kid just needs a moment alone. Okay, and you explained to them in English, I need a moment can mean I need a moment alone. I'll come back and ask you in a minute, okay? And they get their moment. Right? Just very simple things. It seems like a complicated idea for a child to express what they need. But in some ways, we never get to that to level 3 or 4. And there's no reason to do that. We can do that in kindergarten. Every child is connected to what they need and what they want. We just need to give them the words. So it would be, we can create a poster. What are some things we can do to support each other? And a poster in the room or a slide that we use every day is, I need a high five. I need friends. I need smiles. I need a cheer. I need peace. I need a thumbs up. And you don't even have to use the word thumbs up, just I need, and let them do that. Because every day, somebody in the room needs support. And when
I think this is really good. I do that even for my 6th grade. Every day they come to my class, I ask them, how are you doing today in Chinese? 你今天怎么样? And they love to ask my questions. So I post all the expression feeling for them to pick, so they don't have to memorize it, but then they already know how to say, I'm tired today, I'm sleepy today, or I'm very happy today in Chinese. And then I can even teach them, sometimes they say, I am sad, and then I will ask, would you like to share? And then they can say, I say, why in Chinese? 为什么? And then I post all these posts on the wall, and then they try to say because, 因为. And so in the first level 1, that the first year they already know how to say 因为. I think that's pretty good, that, you know, and they love to share. They love to share, and they say, oh, Miss Chen, you forget to ask me. I say,
you didn't ask me why.
Yeah, so I think this is also very good because you give students outlet.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it helps with things in class. So this phrase here, especially in the elementary and middle school, would be super helpful. I need an I'm sorry, or I need an apology. You were always having, you know, little things in class where 2 kids bump into each other or yell at each other, or, you know, something, and you can solve the problem. But they don't have the language. So you can see, you know, after somebody bumps somebody, they feel bad, they didn't mean to do it, it was an accident. You can easily teach them it was an accident or something similar, okay? And then you ask the person that got hurt, do you need an apology? And they can say, yes, I need an apology. And the other person says whatever you would like them to say in Chinese as an apology.
Yeah, they know how to say 对不起，没关系.
It doesn't matter if they read it off the wall. It doesn't. It doesn't matter if they read it off the wall. They don't have to have it memorized. But what you have done is created, now you are using language as it's intended to be used by your brain. In real life,
I also feel that when they are speaking in this target language, they are more willing to express their feeling for some reason. Because I don't know, I think that probably, you know, it's new to them and they're willing to express. Maybe they won't say I'm sad in other classes, but they'll be able to say in Chinese.
yes.
Yeah.
So this is a theme you're going to see me work with through the year. And I'm not suggesting you have to do it, but if there's one tiny piece of it that you can keep in the back of your mind, I think 2021 is going to be the year we need to do the year we need to do that. And because this is it's a very common theme, helping, supporting, and lots of really cool video clips and songs and stories and movies have to do with what do people need and how does someone help. And I think that we can then open up this door for lots of language in 2021 and things to do, even if we're teaching by theme. So even if we're teaching, for example, school as a topic, there are lots of things like who helps in math? What help do you need in English? There are lots of ways just to bring that one concept of need help and give help, or need support and give support, and having feelings about things in every topic and theme that we do, and personalize it. And that helps a lot with those behavior problems that we struggle with. Now, I'm looking at my at my computer and it's 2:45. Oh, so I think we should probably go off and have the rest of our day.
Yes.
7% on my computer, so it's going to shut down fairly soon.
Thank you so much, Lori.
Oh, thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you.
So much time to help us.
Thank you.
So